Good evening and welcome to the South County Fire Board of Commissioners regular board meeting for April 7, 2026. I'll ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, board members, you have in front of you the draft agenda. I don't believe, Chief, there's anything else for the draft agenda, so you've got it in front of you. Anything else for the draft agenda? Board members, if not, I'll move the adoption of the agenda as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Fernhoff seconds it. We have moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. That takes us to consent agenda, which is item number 4 on the agenda. We have 2 items in consent agenda. 4A, which is the payroll summary and authorization for March 2026. And 4B, which is the April 7, 2026 claims vouchers totaling $1,593,480.67. I will move the adoption of the consent agenda items. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Chan. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda items. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. That takes us to item number 5, which is approval of meeting minutes. Tonight in 5A, we have the March 17, 2026 regular meeting minutes. I will move the adoption of the March 17, 2026 regular meeting minutes. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Wankelman. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the March 17, 2026 regular meeting minutes. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. That moves us forward on the agenda then to item number 6, which is public comment. So we'll start first in the room, and then I'll ask Ms. Blankenship to check our Zoom platform for us. But starting first in the room, is there any request for public comment tonight? Any request for public comment? Not seeing any request for public comment here in the room. Let me turn to Ms. Blankenship and ask if we have any request for public comment from Zoom.
There is none.
Ms. Blankenship, thank you very much. And I'll come back one last time to the room. Any request for public comment? Not seeing any request for public comment. Thank you. We will move forward in the agenda then to item number 7, which is the fire chief's report. Good evening, Chief Maxwell.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenny and board, liaison and guests. I have a really great report, and I think this is something that makes the fire chief and the whole organization really proud. It means the world to us to be a firefighter and to do your job and to save someone's life from a fire. And we did that on March 30th, not too far from here. I actually, it was in the morning, everyone was getting going. I actually pulled up on scene as they're pulling the lady from the house and starting to treat her and get her to the hospital. What's really neat about this are two things that we do here. One of them we started doing, one we've done for a while, but one is we've started a technique of doing a very rapid search to maximize the speed at what we search and rescue people from. And we did that in this, and I think good training and updating and changing our techniques and our training, I think proved effective and it resulted in saving a life. Another thing we do, and this is for all of our patients, that I don't know if everyone carries it, but we've carried it for a very long time, and they're called cyano kits. And one of the things that kills us in a fire is the cyanide in the smoke. And all of our victims we pull from house fires, we start an IV and give the cyano kit. It's a cyanide antidote kit, which knocks the cyanide off their cells and allows their cells really to breathe again. And we're seeing pretty good results with that as well too. So we're always proud when we save someone from a house fire, but I'm also proud we always do something extra in this department. We're always going to cut a one step ahead in both, doing, the rapid searches and we carry one antidote kit on each battalion rig and the MSO rig, and then it's administered by the paramedics. And I'm saying that in general, to all of our patients we rescue. And the fire marshal reported this person has been discharged from the hospital. So really exciting. Good job on the part of the crews.
Can I have a question here now, or we're gonna wait until the end?
Go ahead, sir.
How was this fire discovered? Because, you mentioned Lake Stickney, right? That's my area, my neighbors, and
Yeah, I think neighbors might have saw smoke coming from the residents.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened to remember one of the guy I sold my house to, and he was the one that,
Yeah.
banging the door and
Yeah.
telling people.
There was a lot of concerned residents out on the street
Yeah,
watching.
Lake Stickney is because we have the community club and all that stuff. Actually, I went to the volunteer firefighter, just check out how they're doing. And they were going the whole discussion about the house, who's the rifle, alpha, whatever, beta, whatever, and all that stuff. I thought that's really interesting because I've been here for 20 years. I don't know that process. They were 360. I know the 360.
Yeah.
It was really great. One day when on retreat or whatever, you might come to educate us a little bit. It was a really short way to do it. But I also asked a question there, but they demonstrate on the comments on people radio back and forth talk about that, right? But the quality is so bad. And the reason I mentioned that now we send a satellite, send people up to the moon, right? The conversation is so clear, maybe of course they're much more expensive. Is there any way, I don't know, Fernhoff is in here, on the communication between all that, is this still good, better, or what?
Part of the change from going from analog to digital has added what we call the Donald Duck voice. It really synthesizes it, and it's hard to hear sometimes. And so you have to be deliberate, where in the old days you could take a microphone and kind of hold it down here near your chest and talk, and it would pick it up pretty clear, but you've got to be more deliberate to talk into the microphone. And I'm not sure what you heard, but the breathing apparatus, there's a speaking diaphragm in there that's supposed to allow for the voice to pass to be heard on the radio. And sometimes they can malfunction a little bit or get water in them, or, a number of different things. So
I just can't imagine, how you communicate. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think that's another part of success. Every firefighter, captain, officer, we are trained. We say when we arrive on the scene, the order of instructions of what we're going to do, what we see, fire conditions, how we're going to attack, size, everything is done the same order every single time when you're talking about how we talk on the radio. And that's a real key part of being very organized and very succinct in what we do. Everybody, since it's in the same order, everybody knows that order, so they can all listen to that.
Right.
Because a lot of this is you get attuned to listening, so you can hear it better. But yes, Commissioner Furnoff is exactly right. When we were in analog, you could hear a lot better, but now that it's digitized and the voice it does change it.
So it's worse. Okay, because I couldn't, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand that too. They really short, really, don't spend a lot of
No.
other people get in there. There's so many people getting the conversation. So it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Nope. That was a good analysis of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Furnoff.
yeah, not to get too deep into the details and glaze over the fact that we actually had a save. So would you please extend from the board our congratulations to all crews involved. This is what we live for.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
And we can't glaze over that too easily. So I just want to acknowledge that and thank everybody.
Thank you so much for highlighting. Yeah, I mean, this is it's a proud moment. It should be a proud moment for all of us. And the crews just did an incredible job and applied their training, and it saved a life. And then next slide, please. It's always a little bit of a delay. Nope. We that's it's okay. We're going to, I can't remember the date. We're going to have an open house at Station 23. James, can you see the date on it? If we can just give this Thursday?
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, this Thursday evening at Station 23, we're going to have an open house. And I had all the details on there. But we can email those out to the board.
Sounds good.
Curious, that's the first station we're gonna right away or do on that, right?
It's probably going to be the second if we move forward, because it ended up Station 22, as you know, is getting very, very close to moving forward there.
Is there any way you can put a sign to say that this will be part of the renovation? Because that station doesn't look very good, okay? Really. I think maybe that's informed to the neighbor, this will be renovated,
Well, right now, we're only able to do Station 22.
Yeah, but 23 will be, right? Next couple, I thought that was part of the,
There it is.
part of the capital facility plan, that was part of it, like second, whatever.
Yeah, if we move forward with the plan, but right now it's just Station 22.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Oh, and there we go. We'd love to see the commissioners there this Thursday night from 5:30 to 7 at Station 23. And we can talk more about that, Commissioner Chan,
Yeah,
if I see you there.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks. And that concludes my report, Chair.
Great. Questions from the board members for the chief on the chief's report? Any questions? Nope. Great. Thank you, chief.
Thanks.
Okay, up next, we have our legal report. We have Matt Paxton with us tonight, our general counsel. Good evening, Mr. Paxton.
Good evening. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Well, Richard sends his regards from his trip. He will be back in a couple of weeks, but for now, you got me. And I do have a few updates I wanted to give you. The first related to changes in the law. Just so you're aware that HB 2442 is going to go into effect in July, and that will increase the flexibility the RFA has for levies. So the levy lid lifts that occur periodically, so that the RFA's levy keeps up with inflation, now can extend up to 10 years. So previously, those levy lid lifts could extend for just 6 years. After that, you would be subject to the 1% limit factor. Another change is that there used to be a single year lid lift, and now there are dual year lid lifts, meaning you can now set a specific levy rate for 2 consecutive years, and it can be the same levy rate. So those are changes coming down the pike. I'm not sure what your levy renewal cycle looks like, or if that's even in your near-term future, but certainly your other agencies you may work with will be familiar with that and may affect their finances. Another update I wanted to give you is just related to a class action lawsuit that we're monitoring. In the Eastern District of Wisconsin, a class action has been certified related to fire apparatus, antitrust related. Some of the big names, including Spartan and Pierce, are named in that. It is at a very early stage of litigation, but it certainly has cropped up in a few places for us, and so I wanted to let you know that we're monitoring it. It relates to increase in prices, low competition or low distribution options, and so right now I believe the Attorney General's office is receiving those concerns if there are any. To my knowledge, I don't think South County Fire has come to us with that specific issue, but I wanted to just flag it for your attention, something to monitor as apparatus is a significant budget line item. And then I guess finally I'd just say that going through the bills for the district, I wanted just to comment on the breadth of staff we get to work with at South County Fire and kind of the pleasure it is to work with all the staff. From DC Curtis, we're working on Station 22 for you guys. Getting the project documents ready there. We're working with your communication director on social media issues and public records officer, of course, on public records issue. And I just say that it's a pleasure to work with all of them. Assistant Chief Sherman should get a good call out here too, because he's been helping us with the fire marshal agreements, and we've been working through those. So that was just my reflection on reviewing the bills, is that it's a good staff that you guys have. They're working for you. Even District Secretary Blankenship and I had a nice discussion about volunteer firefighter pensions. So that is my report. Unless there's any questions from the district, that will conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Paxton. Any questions from the board members for Mr. Paxton? Yeah, Commissioner Chan, go ahead.
Yeah, who's filing the antitrust, whatever, the competition lawsuits about the equipment?
The law firm is called Hagens Bergman.
Who they will represent? Who's the complaint?
It's being filed on behalf of fire districts
Okay.
in about 10 or 20 states, I would say. Washington is not among the states that was certified in the class action.
So in a sense, it could benefit us, right? Because, if they win the lawsuits in a sense that I do see the same kind of situation. There's not too many choices in the equipment and stuff. Is that what it come down to, right?
Some of the allegations that I saw from them are more significant than that.
Okay.
Floating prices has been raised in one of those. I haven't seen that, as well as what was the other specific complaint? Yeah, I think it's primarily the sole source nature of those contracts, as well as the increased prices. A lot of factors go into that, obviously.
I don't want to off subject. Are there any imported fire truck? Is there any rule or whatever law do not allow that, or they're very seldom?
I don't know that. I mean, I assume that the chassis, I don't know if the chassis are manufactured in the US or not. And then after that, it's, whatever they put on top of it. And that's usually done in the United States, from my understanding.
Okay, I can Google it, but I just curious. Every time when we have ask for equipment, it's only 2 or 3, right? That we have choices, we have the weigh and all that stuff.
Yeah, and you're accurate. The reason this is all coming about is because there are conglomerates buying up all the manufacturers, so
Right.
there is no choice. They set the price, and I think that's probably the catalyst behind this.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Paxton. We appreciate the report. Okay, let's move forward then in the agenda to item number 9, which is the union report. And we have Connor Holton with us. Good evening.
Good evening, commissioners, staff, and guests. Not a ton to report this week. We had a number of our members attend the IAFF Strive for Excellence Conference. That's an annual conference that takes place and offers opportunities for both hands-on fireground related training, as well as some union leadership workshops. So it's an opportunity for our members to develop leadership skills, both on the fire grounds and in the union side of things, and kind of learn from other locals. So that was a successful event for those that attended. And that's all I got for you this week.
Great. Any questions for Director Holcomb? On the board, any questions? No? Okay, no questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that moves us forward on the agenda then to item number 10, which is capital facilities planning, and 10A, which is that CFP plan for discussion with CFO Bothwell. Good evening.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. So tonight I'm going to present the financial plan that supports the capital facilities plan. So I'll start with a description of how we built the financing plan. We'll talk about the bond sequence and values. We'll get into the bond feature decisions that we need to make. So there's 2 decisions that are kind of at our doorstep. And then I'll end with next steps. So as you might imagine, building the financing plan for a capital facilities plan as complicated as ours is difficult. And it's a complex and detailed exercise, but we have broken it down into just a few steps here. First, what we did is we confirmed the CFP details. And so we worked with TCA and Concertus, and we went through the Gantt chart that's in the CFP document to confirm that the timelines and values were reasonable. Once that work was completed, we spent some time attributing project spending to the months, then quarters, and then bond cycles. And for this purpose, bond cycles for us are going to be 3 years. Then we sent the bond sequence and values to our municipal advisor for analysis. And where we are now is reviewing the analysis and identifying decision points for the path forward. So what the plan told us is that we need to issue $420 million of bonds in a series of 3 issuances. The timeline for that is the first issuance in 2027 for $86 million. Then we do a second issuance in 2030 for $168 million, and then a third and final issuance in 2033 for $166 million. And I've got a note here that the above plan is dictated by the CFP. So it's not a subjective exercise. We just go through and figure out what the cash flow needs are to keep the projects moving on schedule. And that's what we base the cash flow analysis that is the financing plan on. So any changes to what you see here in terms of the timing or value of the issuances would likely result in changes that we would need to make to the CFP. And similarly, if we were to change things significantly within the CFP, it would probably change the financing plan as well. So on the previous slide, we established what we need and when. Now we have a couple questions about the bonds themselves. So there's 2 questions that we need to answer. The first is the bond repayment period. So we're going to look at a 20-year repayment period and a 25-year period. The second decision is the bond repayment structure, and that's a little bit more sort of esoteric, but we won't get too far into the weeds, and we'll talk about that too. Both of these items have a pretty big price tag on them, so we want to make sure that the board is aware of sort of the recommendations and the alternatives that are out there. So bond feature decision number 1 is the bond repayment period. So we have 2 options. It's 20 years or 25 years, and this is just the length of time that our bonds are out there until maturity. So I'll go through the advantages and disadvantages of both. For the 20-year, the advantages is that there's a favorable interest rates. So currently the rates for 20-year bonds is about 3.87%. And for 25-year bonds, they're 4.21%. So that may not seem significant, but when you're talking about debt that's going to be outstanding for 20 or more years on $420 million, the numbers add up pretty quickly. The other advantage of 20 years is that the debt is retired 5 years sooner. So that means it comes off of the excess levy ends 5 years sooner, and the debt service payments also end 5 years sooner. And the result is a lower total interest cost for the 20-year compared to the 25-year. And in all the analysis that we've looked at thus far, it's significant. So more than $60 million less interest paid for 20 years compared to 25. And of course, the disadvantage is that it increases the annual property owner impact. And I'll show you the value of that on this slide. So the advantages and disadvantages of the 25-year, the advantage is that it's the lowest annual property owner impact. For a homeowner or a property owner with the median value for Snohomish County the impact is $12 to $24 per year. And the disadvantage, of course, is just the opposite of what I described as an advantage for the 20-year. It's higher interest rates. The debt and levy are carried for an additional 5 years. And that the result is that more interest is paid, and that's more than $60 million based on the current analysis. So we're making a recommendation, and this is just for discussion. So we're recommending 20-year bonds, and the primary reason for the recommendation is that the perceived benefit of saving $60 million is more significant than the reduced annual burden of $12 to $24 per year for a median Snohomish County property owner. Okay, bond feature number 2 that I'm bringing to you is the bond repayment structure. And I want to start by acknowledging that every proposed structure that we're going to look at assumes the same bond issuance schedule. So there isn't any change in when we go to sell our bonds or the value of those bonds. It's just how we restructure the repayment of the bonds that's different. So we've identified 3 primary options, and their technical labels are very, very similar. So I've given them sort of some easier to understand and talk about labels, and we're calling them staggered, all level, and levy level. So this first one is staggered, and the technical name is the level debt service by series. Each time we issue bonds, we add the debt service to the tax roll, and the taxes increase for property owners. So in the graph at the bottom, you can see how this functions, and the graph is based on what our actual expected bond issuance schedule would look like. So you can see in the first 3 years, the levy rate and the debt service is really, really low. Then it jumps up when we do our second issuance pretty significantly. It's at that new high rate for 3 additional years. And then when we go to issue our final round of bonds, it jumps up and gets to what is effectively full strength. It stays there for 13 or 14 years. And then it starts to trail off as the earlier series of bonds mature. So you can see it sort of steps down. There's 2 steps down in the back end of the chart. So the advantage, that's the most common structure. This is what most local governments, not most, but a lot of local governments will go with. And the tax impact is phased in. So if we're successful with voters in the fall, they would see a relatively small increase in their tax bill in the following spring. The disadvantage is that it's not the lowest cost of borrowing. It's also not the most expensive. So it's the middle option. And the tax impact may feel unpredictable, just in the sense that we're going to be increasing the levy pretty significantly 6 years after folks vote for that levy. And then it's sort of difficult to communicate, right? Like if we were to talk about the impact of this to just an average taxpayer, the conversation would be something like it's going to start small, then it steps up, and then 13 years it's at full strength, it's at its highest point, and then it starts to step down. It's not impossible to describe, but it is a little bit difficult to message. This second option is what we're calling all level, and it's the aggregate level debt service is the technical name. The debt service is the same for the entire life of the bond starting in the first year. So on the graph on the bottom there, you can see the debt service doesn't change from year 1 through year 20 or year 25. And then remember the issuance schedule for the debt is the same. So you can see for the first 3 years, we're paying a lot of debt service on that first round of bonds. But then as we move forward and issue subsequent series of bonds, there's sort of a balancing of where that debt service is going. The advantage of this is that it's the lowest cost of borrowing, and that's primarily due to the fact that you're collecting a lot of taxes and making a lot of debt service in those early years when there isn't a whole lot of debt outstanding. So you're minimizing your interest. The tax is fully implemented. Another advantage is that tax is fully implemented closer to voter approval. So if we were successful with voters in the fall, they would see this full increase come on the 2027 tax roll. It is less common. It's apparently very common with school districts, but slightly less common with other types of local governments. But it is familiar and it works like a consumer loan. So this one's really easy to describe in the sense that this is like every mortgage anybody's ever had or any car loan you've ever had. You pick your term and the payment doesn't change. It's the same for the entire duration. So it's fairly easy for folks to understand. The disadvantage is that tax increase may feel abrupt and occurs before the majority of construction has started. So if you see your tax bill go up, and there isn't a whole lot of construction at your neighborhood fire station, that's sort of a disadvantage. And there is some risk associated with the levy change if the levy changes if the schedule is disrupted. So if we get to the end of third years and the third year after the first round of bonds has been issued, and we're not ready to break ground and move forward with the projects that are scheduled next, it's possible that we would end up having to reduce our levy down to the current debt service while we wait for those projects to catch up. And so it could get a little choppy. I don't know how big that risk is for us. My sense is it's probably fairly small, but it is something to be aware of. And this final one is called levy. It's level levy. It's level levy debt service is the technical name. So the levy rate is the same for the life of the bonds, and the debt service payments increase at the projected rate of inflation. So you can see in the chart at the bottom, there's a green line that is the levy rate, and it stays the same. So I think it's at about 15 cents in this example. It stays the same from year 1 to year 20 or year 25. But the actual debt service increases consistently every year from beginning to end. And so the advantage is that it's predictable levy rate, and the tax bill increases slowly over time. So there's basically an inflationary adjustment or increase every year that's compounding. The disadvantage is that the principal is carried longer, resulting in higher cost of borrowing. So you can see that debt service payments, they increase, they're the highest at the end, and so is the levy. And so you're deferring paying off some of that principal, and there's a significant cost associated with that. So this is the most expensive option. So again, we're going to make a recommendation just for discussion, and that's for all level, which is the one, there's the graph is at the bottom. And the primary reason for the recommendation is that it's the lowest cost of borrowing. It also happens to be sort of a much less reason for the recommendation, or a lower is that it's easy to communicate to the community. It's very familiar structure to most people. So that's the presentation. Tonight, we're here to solicit reactions and feedback. We do have committee meetings that are occurring more frequently now for finance and CFP. And so there are opportunities for additional discussion at those. And then the plan is to take what we learned from you tonight about your preferences and where you're interested in learning more, and to bring back data and possibly some alternatives at the work session next week. So I will unshare this and happy to take any questions.
Questions for Mr. Bothwell on the presentation? Commissioner Chan, go ahead.
Yeah, the gap that you show 4.21 and 3.87, is that the difference about 34%?
Basis points. Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds small, but yet, because we go talk about $420 million, so it have a little bit difference in there. I'm just saying that because right now we really don't know what the interest rate will be, right? But is the gap always pretty much the same?
Well, I think it's fair to say that investors are always going to favor a shorter maturity. So anything over 20 years, you're going to pay a premium for. We can look at historical data on that, but I think that's a pretty safe thing to assume, that you're always going to pay a little higher interest rate on if you go longer.
Yeah. Gap-wise, yeah. So no, in a sense that, actually, in a sense, it depends how you promote it, right? People say only 20 years, so shorter than 25, and then the cost, it's not as much, yeah. So I know there's a lot of discussion we do have on that, yeah.
Other questions? Oh, yeah, Commissioner Fern, go ahead.
Sorry, I was a little slow on. I think you're actually looking for soliciting some sort of feedback. I like the recommendation, the middle. The more consistent, the more predictable that we can make our approach, it's going to be less shocking over the years, and we can't predict what the future is going to be. So I think if we're just steady, it's kind of like, like you said, just your home loan or anything else, the payment doesn't change. So that's just my opinion.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Mr. Bothwell, I guess I've got a question. I wanted to go back to I guess it would be the schedule that you had put up there initially, the 2027, 2030, and 2033, and the dollar amounts. And you said that those were driven off of the CFP. And I want to see if, is there, how much wiggle room is there? Is there, $1 million or $2 million or two wiggle room in each, or like if we needed to restructure it more, like, let's just say for 2027, we weren't going to be ready for the full 86 and we wanted to put, I don't know, we were ready for 60 and we wanted to push 16 million to 2030. Do we have like board by, I know you said the CFP would have to be changed, but we could change the CFP.
Mhm.
I mean, it's essentially just a board vote to be able to do that. I mean, do we have that flexibility, or somehow are we locking ourselves in on the front end to what those amounts will be in those years? I wasn't quite clear.
No,
on
it's
the
a,
process.
it's a great question. We're not locking ourselves into anything. So we'll evaluate before we do any bond issuance. We're going to evaluate what we need for the projects that are ready to go. And so we do have flexibility there. So the schedule that I showed you is just based on what we think is going to happen now based on that Gantt chart. But we will be checking in every time before we issue bonds, because there's pressure, right? We have to spend 85% of the proceeds within 3 years. And so we don't want to get that wrong. We don't want to come up short and have to go back out early, and we don't want to be holding on to too much money and have to deal with the whole arbitrage penalties. So yeah, we want to get it right, and we will go in and we'll do a lot of due diligence to make sure that we're doing the best we can with what we know at the time. And so we'll be predicting those 3-year windows with we'll put a lot of care and time into that, and we'll have that flexibility with any of these models to do that. It would be the one model. I made a comment, and I hope I didn't lead you down to think that we had lost any flexibility with the one model where we have even debt service for the entire start to finish. The only risk there is that we wouldn't be ready to bond a project, and then we would have debt service would run out on one, and we'd have another one that would be not teed up. And so we would actually, our levy would probably go away or go to a very small amount for a period of time until we were ready to go with those projects. So it's a risk that's out there that our municipal advisor wanted to make sure we are aware of. But it doesn't necessarily take away our flexibility to do anything other than just pause. If we pause, it's going to have an impact. But otherwise, we're still fine.
So one of the issues that will come up as we get closer to November will be, what is the levy rate, like the dollars per thousand that an individual is going to have to pay on their home. Based on the schedule that we may choose, I imagine we have to choose something preliminarily. I like the idea that we should commit to something. That the schedule combined with the structure of the repayment, those two choices, as they come together, will those determine what that amount is of levy essentially per year? Because I'm imagining that we'll want to calculate it for each year, 2027, 2028, and what that looks like. Because there may be, depending on what we choose, there may be some fluctuation in that.
Yeah.
Those two choices, will they determine what those numbers are for each year?
Yes, they will. And you're absolutely right. There will be some fluctuation. It differs by method, by those selections that we make. The municipal advisor right now is working on all 6 scenarios for you. And so we'll bring those back next week. If the board is interested in all of them, we'll go through all of them. I think it'll be really enlightening, so you can see some of the challenges with how we might be able to communicate, like particularly the staggered approach, because you have a levy that, which number do we advertise, right? Is it the full strength one? Is it the beginning? Is it an average? What is it? So those are some conversations we'll have to have once a clear winner emerges. But we're prepared to bring all 6, if that's what all 6 of those scenarios for discussion next week, if that's what the board chooses.
Well, personally, I'd like to see all 6.
Okay.
That would be helpful to me. I do generally, just thinking through what you had described, I like the level for the repayment structure. I did like the level levy debt service. Because I feel like people, when we tell people what it's going to be, and you had mentioned, the impact is like the maximum impact begins in 2027. And I'm like, but that's okay, because that's what we're advertising. That's what's going to fund this. And I don't know that I want to delay. We could delay that, but it might be better to just, if you vote for this and you agree to fund these things, it starts in 2027. And I feel like we will have something to show for it. So I felt part of your argument was one of these other structures was not as good because it was essentially delayed. But I feel like the impact to the pocketbook in year one is fair if everybody votes for it. But I can also see how they want to see some results from what they're paying. But I feel like Station 22 is going to be that result. They'll actually, we'll actually be seeing some result before we get to 2027, but part of it will be in 2027. And I believe we'll be able to tout that and say, look, this is the start of it. And it'll be, we're talking about a 10-year period of time. Every year, there's going to be something that we can tout for different parts of the community as this whole plan comes together. So I kind of like the consistency of the levelness of it, the fact that it bites in year one. I'm okay with that. And I feel like we're going to have some product to show in year one in 2027. And I think all that comes together in a good way to follow along with something that I talk about, which is you got to pay for what you get. And you're going to start to get it, but you're also going to pay for it. And that's fair. I mean, that's what there's no smoke and mirrors here. There's no magic. These are very expensive buildings to construct, and it's going to cost money, but it's going to be worth it to the community. And so that's that benefit and disadvantage. The disadvantage is the tax, the benefit is the creation of these structures. And so I do kind of like that consistency to basically be able to say it's going to be, X levy rate over this whole period of time. That's what you're voting for if you vote for it, as opposed to, I'm not the idea of how it might fluctuate up and down. I'm okay with. It's just maybe harder to describe that. And I like the idea of just the consistency. This is what it's going to be. If you vote for it, you know what you're getting. We're being transparent about it. There's no, there's nothing to hide here. And I'm not saying that in this schedule, because I imagine we would put out this schedule, but it's just hard to think about, 10, 12 years out. If it's all consistent, it's easier to grasp. Well, that's what you're paying. So anyways, just some thoughts.
Great. I appreciate that.
Other questions, comments, Commissioner Chen?
Yeah, I forgot. I read so many places. So I remember that we're gonna start with the reserve fund, right? And what's the total reserve fund? And is it already start with 22?
Yeah, we're gonna fund 22 initially with the reserves in the building reserve, the
Right.
money in the building reserve. Mhm.
So somehow I thought the other part of it, that's all. How much do we have the reserve fund?
There's about 23 million in
23
the,
million.
yeah.
So
And-
only can do one.
Well, our plan at this point is to, when we have a contract for construction for Station 22, is to bring a reimbursement resolution to the board as well. So that would allow the board, if they choose, to reimburse the building reserve for the cost of construction of 22 out of the bond proceeds, if we're successful.
Okay, and then actually, when we get to refund the money right away, so we can on the next year in and the 20, we can really start doing something.
Well, I think the important caveat to remember is the building reserve fund is also very important for a lot of our big capital needs, such as roof replacements,
Right.
parking lots. So we're using that for Station 22, but we need to be very cognizant that that is a fund for a
Right.
lot of big projects that we need outside of constructing stations.
No, actually, I get really careful, but we cannot recite anything until we know the bond, the vote pass or not on the bond, right? So.
No, we're gonna do 22.
But if that is the one, that means if they did not get the bond, then we're in the bind, right?
Yeah, Commissioner Chan, I think that we're expecting that if we were not successful with voters and we build 22, based on the value that's in the current CFP, that would leave about $5 or $6 million in the building reserve. So we'd like to have more, and we would hope to get the reimbursement if we're successful with voters. But if not, it doesn't become a super dire situation. It's not a dire situation. It's just something we'll have to tackle.
Well, we can get a mortgage or what you call the other way, the other one, stuff like that. But anyway, yeah. That's my in my head spinning in there. It's, in a sense, if again, if we fail, we just have to tell the public. That's it. For the second, when we ask again, and say this is the thing that, give them the whole capital facility plan. This is a real necessity, not a luxury to us, right? Okay.
Well, I would say we'll have to think about a plan B. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly. That's
it's like
Okay.
you've got the needs that we've identified, they're not going away.
Right.
They're- People can choose to not fund it, okay, but the need's still there and the buildings are essentially, I like to describe them as melting. They're slowly melting over time as they get older and older. And so the roofs have to be replaced. There's mold issues. There's just generator issues. There's the door issues, constant door issues. Just everything is slightly melting in these facilities. And so at some point you've got to replace them. And if it's fine, don't do it this year, but add 5%, and that's what it's going to cost you next year, and 5% beyond that the next year, and 5% the next year. So it's pay me now, pay me later, really. But we will need to talk about a plan B because the need's not going away.
Well, that's why I'm so critical for this bond issue. We need to go and really hit it hard to make it pass. So that's, yeah. With a lot of stress on us, but that's part of the job in here. Okay.
Other questions, comments with Mr. Bothwell? Okay, Mr. Bothwell, do you have enough to come back with for next week?
I do. We'll plan to bring all 6 scenarios back to you all next week, unless we hear otherwise, and we'll just work through those. So that'll be our next step.
That sounds great.
Thank you all for the feedback.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, that moves us forward to the agenda to item 11. We're on to 11, and that's going to be 11A with organizational roadmap with Chief Maxwell, operational positions for discussion. Chief Maxwell.
Thank you very much. Let's see. All right, there we go. Thank you, board and liaisons. So this is continuing, as I said, when you appointed me chief, I'd be looking at the whole organization, and just like the organizational roadmap we did last year, I would be bringing you probably a piece by piece of each division as we work our way to the workshop in June. Tonight, I want to talk about operational needs. I'm going to talk a little bit, refresh you of some of the past of how we got there, where we're at, and then kind of some previews for the future. But as everybody is aware, let me move this. Last year we talked about kind of our 3 pillars, our financial resources in the green on the right. We've talked about quite a bit and we've done pretty good with those. Our capital resources, we talked about that a lot tonight. And then our human resources, and that is a really important pillar that we really need to keep talking about, especially in this day and age. There we go. We've also talked about how I'm proud we've ran really lean and efficient for a long time, but balance is really the key. We need to start looking at how we adapt for the future. And a lot of what I'm doing as chief is bringing you how we need to reorganize our org chart, this building, and even our resources out in the street for the future. And how do we prioritize that? A lot of these you'll see align with the board priorities. But what are our threats and opportunities for where do we want to end up in the end with people, places, and finances that really set us up for the best possible future? Position is everything. being successful is being in a good position. If you're not in a good position, if you're out of position, if you're behind, you're trying to play catch up. So it's so critical we stay in a good position. And what do we focus on? And really simple, what are the actions we need to do as an organization? Focus on things that have a large potential for positive consequences. And what do we need to avoid for that have a large potential for negative consequences? Here are the four primary areas that myself and the leadership here have identified that we need to envision or re-envision. The big thing talking about tonight is bringing back the request to upstaff 10 firefighters or firefighter paramedics. Our ops chief Keen is here today telling me we need to really start focusing on paramedic hiring. Our fleet facilities, our capital facilities plan, obviously a big priority of importance. BLS transport demand. I think you've seen that our our call volume's gone up 50% over the last 10 years, and our biggest call type is BLS transport or BLS calls, which is over 50%. Community paramedicine making a big impact on our community, but also critical to keeping our emergency resources available. And then we really need to re-envision for the future our human resources, how we handle that, volunteers, might even start to call them our reserve forces, our special operations, and the evolving things such as energy. We'll talk about that in future presentations. Those are all the batteries and power plants, and then fire prevention. So these are the 8 areas that I will be bringing to you, hopefully with the culmination in June, on how we can reimagine this together to set us in a really good firm footing for the future. So let's talk about the ops. Just as a quick refresher, there are about 30,000 fire departments in the United States. 18% are career, and those 18% cover about 70% of the U.S. population. About half of them provide BLS response, and about 17% provide ALS response. This is kind of a interesting or kind of a shocking statistic. We rank, we're the 135th largest out of 29,452 fire departments in the United States. And where does that put us in population served? We are in the 250,000 to 500,000. There are about 72 departments, and we're in the less than 1% size-wise. So we're in a very small group. That's how large we are. So a lot of these used to figure out, so what kind of staffing do we need? There's a very, very broad staffing recommendation. It's a firefighter per 1,000. That is an extremely broad brush. The way to do it precisely are standard of cover studies, right? That is a very broad brush because communities differ so widely across the US with the different configurations, but it's an interesting number we can look at, and I'll show you kind of a pathway how we may be able to get to that metric. The second one we talk about is due to vacation, sick leave, injuries, disabilities, how do we fill the seats? And we talk about a staffing ratio. So if we have 4 shifts, you need a person in each of those positions, and we brought to you last year, we figured about a staffing ratio of 5.5. So we need about 5.5 people to fill every seat that we're choosing to staff. So firefighters per 1,000, that very broad brush recommendation I was talking about puts us at an interesting recommendation about 1.56 per 1,000. And then our positions on raising the amount of people we have and for our ability when people are in sick and disability to keep our stations staffed is about 4.9. So we have 4 shifts, right? We need 1 person in each of those. So really we need about 5.5 would be the goal to fill those positions. So this is our request tonight. If you see right now, my cursor doesn't show in there. But right now, if you see 2026 current, our staffing ratio for one firefighter per 1,000 is about 1.08. And per position for the 4 slots, we're at about 4.7. And our total staffing is 326. The request tonight, which is in the budget, would take us to a 1.12 staffing factor, and then the ratio of 4.9. So you can see those slowly climbing, and that'd take us from 326 to 336. And as you see, as we work down, if we were to add 10 each year, by the year 2030, we've hit that 5.5, which is hopefully going to start to mitigate some of the sick time when people call in sick, making sure that we're staying properly staffed, but not generating a ton of overtime or a ton of mandatory overtime. That's the plan. But the other caveats to remember is we're going to be building some stations. That's going to require big jumps in the spikes of we're going to have to hire a lot more when we open a station. And then the other thing to consider is the population is growing. So these numbers are always going to be changing with kind of the variables I've described if we open up other infill stations and as the population changes. This is kind of an interesting, I know it's a lot of numbers, but basically this is showing when we add infill stations. If we do add infill stations, adding 1 station, adding 2, 3, 4 stations, as we're adding those up and as we continue to up staff at the rate I showed you, and also in the bottom left corner, trying to get to that 5.5 ratio so that we can maintain staffing when people are off. When you get to the bottom right-hand corner, we're actually getting pretty close to the recommended staffing ratios on both sides. Both the recommended 1.5, we're very close to that, and we're at the 5.5. So if we maintain this current trajectory of, adding 10 a year, which might change a little bit as the population increases, but also when we add a station, that bump is going to come a little bit faster. We're actually going to be heading towards both targets and be in a really good spot. So this is just kind of a look at it, tonight requesting permission to up staff by 10 firefighters or firefighter paramedics takes us from 326 to 336. That is the ask tonight, but then just showing you next year coming back, asking again, and each year coming back and just continuing on asking for those 10 firefighters. And that was the general plan. We were going to front load this a bit more in the early years. I think we just, like we said, we have to adapt, and we'd be coming back to you and monitoring conditions and coming back to the board with what we thought was the best ask for the current conditions. So, like I said, the other thing is reimagining our human resources. Between our employees and volunteers, we are managing, hiring, 500 people. And when I say we're hiring 10 people, whether it be firefighters and paramedics each year, if we open up a new station, right, we're looking at another 10 to 20. We have attrition, that can be 10 to 20. So the volume of people moving through this organization is a lot in the hiring realm. But those people also go through the academy, go through probation. Just as many are going through the promotional processes. So it's a big volume of people. And we also take care of our retirees going through this organization. And when I say we're in the top 1% of how large departments are in this country, this is thinking bigger. We need to think bigger to stay in a good position for operational readiness. The other side of it is when we talk to risk managers, operations used to be the thing where all the energy and thought goes into, and we've gotten pretty good at that. Human resources and all the work that goes on in human resources is now becoming one of the biggest parts of fire department operations. So we're pretty good here at reinventing. We talked about EMS and transforming to our CRP. If we wouldn't have re-envisioned our CRP 10 or 15 years ago, we would probably be where most departments in the U.S. now are. They would love to have a CRP program. The ACT program, we changed that. The first aid program to ACT, we went from training tens or hundreds of people to thousands of people. I really believe it's time to reinvent our human resources division. And the three pillars I see there are recruitment, readiness, reliability, resilience, and retention. That 5.5 we talk about, we need to really look at how we invest in them. We can't just do more. How do we really take care of the people we already have and maximize the resource that we already have to keep them healthy, engaged, and at work?
Chief, before you go on, I think Commissioner Lawrence has a question.
So we're the top 1%. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, how to sit down. So that 1% again, explain that. We are
So out of
size wise,
yeah, so just say roughly there's 30,000 fire departments in the United States.
there's what?
Around 30,000 fire departments in the US.
Yeah,
And our size, we are in the top 1% size wise.
well, how's that? There's a lot, there must be a lot of small departments, even in densely populated areas like on the East Coast. I mean, they don't grow, they don't keep many stations and, I mean, there's
Here, let
Well,
me back up. I'll show you.
whatever 300,000 we have,
So if you look here, the 18 the large departments, the 18%, the largest one covers 70% of the US population. So 18% of the departments cover 70%.
and we're part of that 18%.
We're in the top 1% of the 18. We're big.
Right, so well, they should have bigger, a lot more bigger ones, but they decided to, and the place is just not to grow, that have not many stations, smaller districts and smaller areas with more population. That's weird.
Yeah, if you look here, the top one, there's about 18 departments that cover 1 million or more. There's 45 departments that cover 500,000 to 1 million. And then there's 72 departments that cover 1/4 to 500,000.
72 are in the top.
Guess I'd have to see a particular type of map that explained it so I'd understand it, but I'll take your word for it.
We can, yeah. Happy to chat about it.
So,
Are you done with your questions?
I can go on if you want.
Oh, no, I'm just following up, I want to follow up some questions there.
Commissioner Chan, go ahead.
Yeah, can you go back to the one that's 18%, the one that have a lot of building? It had the big building.
This one?
No, the one that, yeah, here,
This one.
yeah, this one too. Okay, so you're excluding the big metro, like Seattle, San Francisco. right?
Nope.
No, that's
Wait,
part of
wait.
the 18%.
No, if you look at this one, those are probably in that top tier, that 18 that
Yeah,
actually Seattle isn't 1 million. So Seattle might be in the
But
45.
the majority of the big city, Chicago, New York, they probably have, I mean, they are not fire district. Cause
No, they're part of the 18.
they're part of the 18.
Yeah, there's only 18 departments out there like Chicago, New York, LA.
But like New York is, I mean, it's more than one.
Yeah, but it's
How
only
many
for-
people? How
It's-
many-
it's
how many?
over-
8 million?
There's over 1 million.
Yeah, over a million,
Right, there's
anything up
18
to,
departments that cover,
Cover-
that's all they have.
Oh,
So it's like
okay.
Seattle's and the second one.
Seattle, yeah, so 800,000 people, Seattle, yeah. Even Bellevue now, so those are, so you basically, but I'm just curious, why you said, go to the one with professional, the next one, I think the next one is,
This one?
yeah, career department, 18%, so what does that mean? Only 18% of career?
Of the we'll just say of the 30,000 departments in the US, about 5,300 are career, which is the 18% of the 30,000.
So many of them, there's still a lot of volunteer departments and stuff.
That's what covers. See, there's a lot of departments except,
Okay,
so Yeah, so, but the paid ones cover 70% of the population.
Okay. Um, okay. Did you send a slide? You didn't send a slide.
You've had these before, but I can send them
Yeah,
again.
yeah, I love slides and to go back and read. Now, one thing I'm hoping is this, I don't know if there's any study to it. Our population grow. Now, I don't know how to project. I assume there will be more multifamily than single family, right?
Yeah.
So maybe our CFO should calculate that. So that the rate will be less for multifamily. I know that in the past, right? So I'm hoping to answer your questions that population grow, but my levy also grow, but it will not be the same rate as a single family.
Hmm.
So
Oh, yeah.
I think that's our challenge, right?
Yep.
Because multifamily still demand the same, you know, same service, right?
Right, and that's kind of where the staffing factor is, and that's where, you know, if we're able to build our 4 infill stations, our factor of 1 firefighter per 1,000, once we top out with if we were able to do our CFP, we'll be in a really good spot with having the resources for those.
Right. Well, I think two things that will help us, if we got a younger generation, they will help us, right? Are there any study, I guess maybe we cannot do that. What ages of people we serve most? Or really, there's not statistics.
Oh,
on
we
that.
definitely have an aging population.
So yeah,
That's what's driving a lot of our call demand.
right. So hopefully the growth will bring in more younger generations, right?
Well, I don't know. That is not my expertise.
Well, I mean, we
I-
need to.
I do know you're
real-
growing and you're going to go more multifamily dwellings. And we know the locations that, remember when we brought the prevention in Linwood, where those high rises are going in the multifamily dwelling units. And on the revenue question, you can tweak slightly your percentages of benefit charge, not levies, but on the charge you can. And then the other side of that is it's 2040 that hits you hard. In 2040, I think you're over $500,000 in the RFA.
Yeah, I'm just my guessing. In Seattle, all those new condo are younger generation. They all work for Amazon, right? In general.
Yeah, I don't.
They can afford.
I don't.
But I really like maybe Linwood has some kind of study, on multifamily, what kind of they have. So we might, that to me, that's also part of us to provide services, right?
And taking fact too, the infill stations were in the study, original studies were based around trying to be able to access those points of where you're going to find those multifamily dwellings.
Right. I mean, that's I
So, yeah.
thank you. I think, first of all, I like this projection, right? So we can think ahead rather than wait until the problem comes. But also too, I think there's a lot of information that we may want to filter up a little bit versus, based on the past, when we have grown, we have so many people serving so many people. So I think if we do a more deeper dive, maybe have a much more better understanding on it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that information in our CFP, but I guess in summary, this was for discussion. We'd like to raise our staffing by 10, as we've been bringing to. This would be our 10, and we may come back in the fall, and we do have more budgeted. Just asking for board approval for the 10. This would be for discussion, and then it'd be out for action. But also, my message is, we can raise the number, right? But we can't raise it forever. How do we invest in who we have?
Right.
We re-envisioned our community medic program to make a bigger impact on the people. How do we re-envision taking care of our human resource so we can maximize the people we have to keep them, happy, healthy, and engaged at work? They want to come here. They want to stay here. And I think there's an opportunity for us to change Rather, we have to keep going up with more, but how do we take care of what we have as well?
Yeah, I still have a tough time. One of your old fire chief give me the 4.3, 4.4.
Yeah, that is not reality, but
Yeah.
that's why I think it's really important that, and I think we have an opportunity to take care of those, the 5.5 and make the best we can with what we have as well.
No, but also too, for the staff, I agree with you, your mental thing,
Yep.
whatever the company you've hired, get them to get back on duty quickly and all that stuff. That's critical. That's also finance wise, we need to do it because, well, I mean, our man said that I'm going to look at the number, the dollar amount, because we all represent the citizen here, right? So we have to be careful thinking about all of this.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm trying to do, is be the most responsible and effective and efficient with our dollars that go into staffing.
I'm not the confident, but you have been one of the most innovative staff in there, right? You always come up with a new idea. I think that's great. I think that's
Well, I've been a part of it. It's been all of us. I appreciate that, but I actually think we have a huge opportunity to do that with our human resource and our human performance. I think there is a huge opportunity for us to start something now that will be the envy of other departments in 5 or 10 years, just like our community medic program. I really do.
So we have more questions. I think Board Liaison Morris, then Commissioner Walkerland, then Commissioner Lawrence, Board Liaison.
As far as staffing goes, what do we have any age numbers about how many people are close to retirement? Because I just think about when we replace a firefighter from an older generation with a newer generation, that 5.5 number is going to go up a lot more because more work-life balance in the younger generation. They use all of their time, and with paid family medical leave, I can just see that skyrocketing pretty quickly.
You're 100% correct. And that's what that 5.5 is looking to mitigate. But that's where I'm also, if we kind of change our human resource to yeah, thank you. To really looking at, the human performance aspect on maximizing that 5.5 rather than going to 6 or 6.5. And when Chief West, do you remember what was the staffing ratio that you started off with? Do you remember the number? 4.3.
yes.
So we were 4.3 about 20 years ago. But for all the things you mentioned, our target is pushing towards the 5.5. But I think we can look at things differently by really taking care of the human and maximize that 5.5 or hold it off from going higher because of all the things you say. But I think we're going to have to re-envision how we do it. It's probably the same for law enforcement.
Commissioner Walkerland, then Commissioner Lawrence. Commissioner Walkerland.
Chief, first of all, always thank you for your insight and your innovation. If you'd be willing to go back to the 4.5 slide for a second.
This one?
Yes, please. I have a kind of a series of questions that I would just like to get your thoughts on, because first is I was curious on the unintended costs of operating. As you said, we're supposed to be at a 5.5, but since we're at a 4.5, I was wondering the unintended costs of that we pay in LNI per year due to overtime, due to the not being able to staff at a full rate.
Yeah, we're actually looking at that. We're looking at that with HR and CFO Bothwell. With our new insured, they do have a special program with LNI. So that is actually an analysis we're looking at right now. But you're right, when people are off, it kind of creates a vicious cycle. When people are off, we have to call back more overtime. Those people get wore out, which leads to more overtime. And so, yeah, the trying to push up to the 5.5 is to reverse the cycle so that there's enough staffing on every day that we're not using a lot of overtime. That way we keep the people we have healthy and don't create that cycle.
Okay, and kind of a follow-up with that, and I apologize, this is something I probably should know. How long does it take for us, when we get a new recruit to have them fully trained so that they're capable of counting towards that 5.5 number?
Well, from when we start to, I mean, the hiring process can start to 4 to 6 months, and then they come in to the academy. We're looking at another 4 months, and then they're on probation to the 12-month period. They are counting towards that staffing, but they come off probation 12 months from the date of hire.
Okay.
And that's when they're a full-fledged firefighter, although they are counting to staffing before they hit the 12 months.
And is it standard to have a 4 to 6 month hiring process for an individual, or is?
Yeah, I don't know if I could compare to other people. I know that, like I said, that we do run, we run light in our HR division. So a lot of times people are wearing multiple hats. So you have to switch to different positions to work through the hiring process. I do know that our person who is our recruiter does a lot of other things. So they're not focused on recruiting completely like they used to be.
Okay. And so do you feel that one, and I saw I think it's the next slide where you're talking the it's the reimagine where you had the 8 categories.
Oh, the categories?
Yes. Because I guess my question comes down to is with the unintended costs of overtime due to LNI, I don't know how that unintended cost impacts our insurance and those type of things. Do you feel that we'd be able to reduce that unintended costs if we had a higher functioning recruiting program, something that was able to help through the hire process in HR and kind of start really looking at the impacts of HR on organizational efficiency and structure?
Yeah, I do think it's a great question. I think it's multifactorial. I think, having a well-oiled machine that we're doing a really good job recruiting, we have efficient onboarding, we have we look to optimize their success in the academy and on probation, their readiness to be in the organization, their readiness to promote, and creating that resiliency while they're here so they're healthy and uninjured or getting back quickly, and then retaining healthy people late into their career. I think it's a part of the whole career continuum from even before when we hire them. And if we have a well-oiled machine there, the idea would be yes, but I couldn't just tell you succinctly right now.
And I appreciate that. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around the conversation because as I always go into my military, though it wasn't perfect, we had HR at every basically facet of an organization. And in that capability, it allowed us to take care of those individuals as they were going on leave, as they were, going through training, as they had the different nuances of life impact as they were going on LNI. And I feel that, at least in my thoughts, and I'd love to hear yours, having a strong HR that's able to take care of the humans as they are in this process, it increases or it reduces the unintended costs that we kind of are facing with, I think, overtime even this month, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you're probably referring to I know from looking at the military realized there aren't enough people coming into the military, and they're trying to recruit high quality people into the military. And what they found is how do they optimize the humans they have and take care. The human resources become more of the finite resource, and how do we take care of them better to basically support the 5.5? How do we take care of the 5.5 before it becomes a 6? And that's how hopefully we can have enough human resources and hopefully maintain the cost of running a fire department.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate those answers.
Commissioner Lawrence.
Yes, Commissioner, welcome. And kind of ask my question. Sort of, but he's hitting on it. Human resources. Would you, they're would you say that human resources would be your first priority to optimize? Because they're the gateway for everything else to happen. And then I'm not saying that out of thin air, because I know if we've talked about it, human resources needs to be expanded and upgraded, right? And that kind of goes with what Commissioner Joe was talking about.
That was going to be a future presentation, but yes, that's where I'm headed. Yes, Commissioner Lawrence, that's exactly where I'm
Yeah.
headed, and you're exactly right. I wasn't quite there yet, but that's where
Joe,
I'm headed.
he stimulated that.
Other questions? Chief, are you done with your presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Other questions? Sorry, Commissioner Furman.
I think there was a lot of good points that were made. Liaison Morris really hit on an important point, and that's attrition, FMLA. That's taking a completely different spin now than it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. The fact that we'll be building in infill stations, but we also have the attrition too. We might be adding 10, but we might actually need 12,
Yes.
right? And it's what was that? Baseball signals? 20?
Yeah, well, that's just upstaffing. With attrition, it could
Right.
be another 10 to 20.
So I guess my point is I wouldn't be scared by adding 10. In fact, I've come to know, and you've already mentioned that you run a very lean machine, that when you're asking for 2, you need 4. If you're asking for 4, you actually need 8. So I would encourage you to keep that dialogue going. Don't be shy about the numbers. And eventually, as we start to level out and we come up to par with other agencies, your command staff, your HR, all of these elements are going to have to expand in some capacity, especially as you vision. I think you had special operations up there, EM, right? That kind of caught my attention. And we have 5 cities that we have to care for. We have citizens throughout this land that are looking to us for leadership. And we need to, as a board, recognize that and be prepared to support whatever it is that you think you need as chief. That's just my opinion. But we stand behind you.
Well, I appreciate that. That means I'm this is exactly what I'm trying to communicate. So I appreciate that. And these are the areas I want to continue to bring the board working up to the workshop. So yes, thank you.
Other questions, comments for the chief on this presentation? Great, thank you, Chief. That moves us forward in the agenda then to item 11B, which is the contract with Bob Schweitzer for the redistricting issue. And I think that is sorry, just getting the page in the packet. That's at page 51 in the packet for purposes of the work that he's done and will do as we move forward on the redistricting issue. So you see the contract there in the packet. And I wanted to see if Ms. Blankenship, did you have anything to add to it? Ms. Blankenship's been the one working with him most closely as we're moving forward.
Nope, pretty straightforward.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board members generally about the contract?
I still have a district, right?
So far. All right, well, then I think we are ready for action on that. I'll move the adoption of the professional services agreement between South County Fire and Mr. Schweitzer for redistricting services. So I moved and seconded to approve the professional services agreement. Is there discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, that takes us forward in the agenda to item 11C, which is the Transportation Benefit District Letter of Support to Snohomish County, and that's at page 58 of the packet. And I previously described Ms. Snyder, the Public Works Director, had come to the Snow Isle Fire Commissioners and made a presentation about the Transportation Benefit District, which is to raise via a imposition of a $20 car tab on cars in the unincorporated area of Snohomish County to raise $6 million to help fund maintenance and repairs of roads in the unincorporated area of Snohomish County because of a lack of revenues to do so. We rely on those roads to get our fire trucks in a timely fashion to responses in the unincorporated area, and this would help them help us to keep the roads open and repaired. Anyways, the Transportation Benefit District is being considered by the county council later this month. I want to say it's April 22, maybe the initial consideration, and I want to say it went over, they moved over to the first Wednesday of May is when they're actually going to vote on it. But this would be encouraging the county council members to vote yes on the Transportation Benefit District. Anyways, that's the issue. And Chief, did you want to chime in and say anything about it?
I would just like to say, I clearly good roads are essential to our response. Good roads, good bridges. I know when the director came and presented to the Snow Isle meeting, she talked about other counties, they have to look at, which bridges are going to keep, which paved roads are going to turn to dirt roads. And, sometimes we refer to our trucks as pavement princesses. They have to stay on really good roads. And when they get to near the edge of bad roads, they break off and we have trouble responding. And so our pavement princesses need really good roads to maintain a good response.
Okay. Any other questions from the board members or comments generally? Commissioner Fernhoff.
I think it just needs to be pointed out that it might be an initial $20, but over a period of time, I think it's 28 or so, it increases with another $20. So you're effectively looking at a $40 fee over time as it's going up. I could be a smarty pants and say, well, that's why we invest in four-wheel drives, right? So we can go anywhere. But that just needs to be something that's looked at. We have a lot of fees. We have a lot of things that we're going to be asking the public for. Capital facilities, going for a bond measure. If this were coming next year after our bond measure passed, I think that $40 additional ramp up, in addition to everything else that we're asking for or endorsing in this case, would be a no-brainer because people would have had agreed to it and it wouldn't be in the collective consciousness. But right now, as we move forward, there are going to be a lot of hands out at a time when diesel is moving towards well over $7 a gallon and a can of chili is $4 a can. So I'm not saying no, I'm saying that we need to look at this request, and I get it, we have a delta and we're trying to fill the gap. But at the same time, our agency needs to be cautious about how much we want to ask our constituents for.
Other questions, comments generally on the issue? Oh, Commissioner Wankelman.
I really appreciate what you said there, Commissioner Fairnoff. And again, I totally agree. My question is there's a lot of unincorporated within Snohomish County. Now, is this going to be focused more in the say the Edmonds, Linwood, those areas, or is this going to be, some of the out further where our trucks will never go type areas, or is it to the discretion of the organization with that?
Well, it's this discretion of Public Works. So yeah, there's no guarantee that it's in the southwest Snohomish County unincorporated area. However, the largest population for they have the most constituents. The population is more dense in the South County, so they pay attention to that. The $6 million is actually leveraged in a number of different ways, so it's actually multiplied in their ability to use that to leverage other grants and other monies, which is really interesting. How that 6 million actually is returns multiple times over, but no, they're obviously it's a countywide. It's for the entire county. So all the benefit would be countywide, not just in South County Fire. Okay, well, I will move adoption that we approve sending the letter in support of the TBD to Snohomish County. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to send the letter of support on the TBD to Snohomish County. Is there discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I
Any
abstain.
Any opposed? And one abstention, Commissioner Fernhoff abstaining. And the motion passes. Thank you. And I'll get that sent up to the county probably tomorrow morning. All right, that sounds good. Let's move forward in the, oh, nope, it's 8:30. It's time for our regular evening break. So let's take, well, at this point, about a 12-minute break to 8:45, and then we will come back with the next item on the agenda, which is the resolution for National Public Safety Telecommuters Week. So with that, we'll be in a brief recess to about 8:45. Thank you.
I'm gonna send,
Or at least the
I'm
result
gonna
of
send your name. Your right. Say something next.
Okay, we are back from recess, and our recess, and we'll resume in the agenda at item 12:12A, new business, and this is recognizing National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, a resolution to that effect with Vice Chair Fernhoff.
Good evening. Yes, I'm excited to bring before you today the proposal for resolution proclaims April 12th through the 18th, 2026 as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. This is in support of the very first touch point that our community members have when they dial 911. Far earlier than seeing an ambulance or an engine or anybody else. This is the first person that they come in contact with, and that is our 911 dispatchers and the entire crew that supports 911. And that's including our admins and all of those folks. So out of recognition for that, we have a proposal in your packet here that will set forth the resolution that will honor our folks that work in the telecommunications field. Any questions? All right.
And Commissioner Fernhoff, would you like to make a motion?
I would like to make, yes, I would.
For the resolution?
I would like to make a motion that we pass the resolution for the Snohomish County 911 April 12th through 18th, 2026 as Public Safety Telecommunications Week.
And I will second that. And just for the record, that's resolution 0407-2026-05. So it's been moved and seconded to approve that resolution. Is there discussion on the motion? Commissioner Chan.
I think public safety is the most important part of it, and thank you for Commissioner Fernhoff bringing it up too. We are working public safety. Liaison is also public safety. So I think that's great.
Any other discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Great, thank you. All right, that moves us forward in the agenda to item 12B, which is Volunteer Recognition Week. A resolution to that effect. And item 12B on the agenda. And Chief, were you Oh, we have Ms. Guzman with us. Sorry, I was not looking on Zoom there. Sorry, go ahead.
All right, good evening, commissioners, and thank you for allowing me to be here by Zoom. I just want to put forth the resolution in your packet and let you know how proud we are to have dedicated volunteers at South County Fire. And that includes our 30 Fire Corps volunteer program volunteers, as well as the 26 volunteer fire support program volunteers. These volunteers have dedicated hundreds of hours to help us assist with community risk reduction programs, educational events, teach our classes, and they have helped our team reach more than 60,000 residents last year, and we're on pace to far exceed those numbers in 2026. We could not do what we do without our dedicated volunteers. These are people that live in the communities that we serve, and they're really the heart of our community. So thank you for considering this resolution tonight, and thank you for allowing us to have a volunteer program. We are very unique in having programs like this compared to other fire agencies.
Great, thank you.
Can I chime in here?
Sure, if you'd like
Yeah,
to say a word, sure.
Yeah, I gave a presentation last week with the Pioneers Trail people in there about, and then I just mentioned about volunteer. And that lady is Robin. She jumped on, and she said, I work for Chandra. And she started talking about ag, cert, and all that stuff. And she said that, ag was by a assistant chief. I forgot his name. I said, yeah, that assistant chief is now our chief. So I'm just tell you that he spent more time talking about volunteer and all this stuff. I think that's amazing. People, talk about that. And I was going to tell you back, but that's an appropriate time, and that's why I'm going to support this resolution.
Very good. I'll move the adoption of resolution 04072026-06, proclamation recognizing National Volunteer Week, April 19 through 2025. Sorry, 19 through 25, 2026.
I'm second that.
Second by Commissioner Chan. It's been moved and seconded to adopt that resolution. Is there discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Chan.
Yeah, I think it's critical that we have volunteer. Not only they provide a lot of help, and also that their connection to the community, that is critical for us.
Any other discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. All right, that moves us forward on the agenda to item number 12C, which is a Board of Volunteer Firefighters Trustees 2025 year-end report, and you will find that at pages 82 and 83, the last two pages of the packet, which is just the annual report and minutes of the March 9, 2026 meeting for information of the board. This doesn't require action of the board, but is rather a report to the board on behalf of the Board of Volunteer Firefighters. And I wanted to see if there were any questions from the board about that. Any questions? If not, there's no, sorry, Commissioner Chan, go ahead.
I just comment. Again, our volunteer firefighter, they're a very critical part of it. And I think we need to support it. And I know that Chief Maxwell have some idea too. Hopefully they can expand it. And I definitely, for me, I totally support that.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Fernhoff.
Yeah, just you might notice the name Al Gingras, Lieutenant. He's part of our volunteer program, except When we weren't looking, he sold his house and he's moving to Florida. So this Wednesday at the volunteer meeting will be his last official day with the department, and he's departing like 2 days later for his new residence in Florida. So if you get the opportunity to extend a thank you, he's really helped shape the program. Has been a great contribution to our efforts. He and I were in the same 23-1 class.
Great, thank you for that. Any other questions, comments on the report? All right, thank you. That moves us forward then in the agenda then to item 13, which is committee updates. We start with Capital Facilities Plan Committee, and that's Commissioner Wonkelman.
Thank you. Yep. Yesterday we had a good meeting. We went through the capital facilities plan prepared by TCA Architecture. I want to say a big thanks to Chief Anderson, CFO Boswell, for the work they've been doing to really review and prep this plan and get it ready. It's, from everything I'm seeing, seems technically sound and well structured. Everything has been updated. Stations are confirmed, and they're really getting the Gantt chart, the sequencing and the prioritization of the most critical facilities and priorities set for us to move forward with this plan as we get ready to take it towards the public. And so with that, we're looking forward to continuing the conversation in 2 weeks. And yeah, that's all I have to report for that.
Great, thank you. Next up is Finance and Human Resources with Commissioner Chan.
Yeah, we're gonna have a meeting on Thursday. As you heard, CFO, we have so many things going on in there in Lake Charles. So we're gonna start, starting in this month, April, we're gonna have 2 meetings every month. It would take us to June to see, we will evaluate again to see what we need. So we just want to make sure that we don't, actually, we're gonna, if we go 1 hour, that will be fine. And so I just don't want rushing thing. Look at that today presentation. You cannot take that and make a decision in 30 minutes. So that's we will to me it's very important for that.
Okay, that takes us forward to intergovernmental with Commissioner Wittes.
Thank you. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and basically we're kind of focused on annexations and capital facilities plans. We don't want to get out a step ahead or sideways, so we're just keeping in tune then. We're meeting again tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and we'll just keep everybody up to date on annexations or the potential of them as they occur. Thank you.
And then finally, Snow 911 with Commissioner Fernhoff.
Yes, Commissioners, I had sent out to you, thank you, Ms. Blankenship, for sending the information. Snow 911 had a presentation at our last meeting, basically outlining a strategy for 2026 in which they cited replacement considerations for what we call Tyler Technologies and New World System Software. This is in an effort to seek a better solution. What they cited were persistent quality issues, delivery failure, and forced cloud migration. So, and if you've looked at these systems, they run on our what they call MDTs, mobile data terminals. It's kind of an antiquated 1990s looking piece of software compared to Google Maps and some of the other systems that we have out there. So this will be part of the roadmap going forward. That information was sent out to you, and you should have that in your email. Any questions? Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up, we have item number 14, which is commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments tonight? Commissioner Fernhoff and Commissioner Wonkelman. Commissioner Fernhoff.
Yeah, I just want to extend my thanks to Chief Anderson, Chief Curtis, and by proxy, Chief Sherman, who unfortunately was sick. We were all supposed to attend a mass casualty drill in Everett, which we did. And it was a multi-agency drill that involved active shooter and hazardous materials. And I think I just want to extend a thank you to everybody that participated, all the agencies. It was remarkable to see fire integrated into a response task force formation in which they have to don their body armor, enter a hazardous area with a potential shooter. Out of that, my request to Chief Anderson and Chief Curtis was to simply look at lessons learned, and what I'm expecting is some kind of resource request. That was supposed to expose gaps. It did. We have notation of it, I think, somewhere. And so the board should be prepared in the future that we might have to either purchase items or authorize expenditure in some way to prepare for these kinds of contingencies. So just want to say thank you.
Commissioner Wonkelman.
Yes, I first wanted to say thank you to the board for allowing me to attend the MIH Atrium in Chicago this past week. In this conference, I was able to sit in a room with organizations throughout the country talking about mobile integrated health, basically CRP, and the innovations that are going on, but also the challenges. And what struck me the most, first and foremost, was our team. The individuals, Chief Hughes, Chief Sharp, and Craig O'Neill, absolutely phenomenal. When listening to the conversations that we're having, the inputs that they were bringing in, the ability, the problem-solving approach that they were helping the communities across our nation overcome, the problems that they were facing overcome, was just phenomenal. It is evident the CRP is going to be a national standard. Lots of questions. I have multiple people that are already contacting me asking to further our conversations. And I just was in awe of what I experienced and what I was able to learn. And it's challenging for me to describe or put it into words because the reality is that we're all facing the same challenge. Repeat 911 is going up. Behavioral health is response is increasing. Medicare, Medicaid individuals have gone up significantly just in the past 5 years, and it is a call to the reality that we're going to have to find innovative ways to start helping a community that resorts to 911 as the safety net due to the lack of resources and opportunities for them to seek help in other places. And so again, to the Board of Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity. It was incredible. And I will be writing a full report of I think I went to, let's see here, 11 different presentations, and I have the notes from over 17 different presentations provided by Chief Hughes, Chief Sharp, and Craig. And again, cannot speak highly enough of the professionalism, the intelligence, and the capability of RCRP leading the nation's charge in this change.
Great. Bring us back a pizza.
I ate it.
Well, thank you for that report. That's good. Let's see, Commissioner Chan.
Yeah, I attend a homeowner association, Pioneer Trail. I think they have 380 houses, and it's a huge. I don't know, you guys probably know about that. They're right next to Station 12. I use that as kind of, I haven't. When I was a chair, I went there every year, every time, and updating information. Haven't been there for a long time. So I just, they invite me to go there as annual. I basically showed them a 15-station map, told them that all the city annexes, some of them don't even know, And the second thing is that I have Christie gave me the 71% safe thing, and I sit in there, and someone in the audience say, yes, my husband, she was husband, my husband here, they saved him 10 years ago. And, went to, come back, okay, walking and everything. I said, nothing kind of, make us happy to see people, come healthy and thing again. And then I gave them the rate. We're showing that we're the lowest rate of levy rate around this area. And then And then we talk about, actually, I just mentioned that when the audience is being volunteer and talk about volunteer and everything else, and then Christie has a public, basically go to public release, talking about the bonds that what we use it for. It's pretty, really simple. And then, of course, the people asked me, how much is it? I said, I don't know yet. We don't know the rate, anything, but actually it's not significant, right? It come up to, I talked to CFO, it was about $100 some for the regular houses. So I said, it's not significant. So that I think help is that now they don't wait until June to know about that. So they know about already, don't know the detail yet. So it will not come as a surprise to them. And I think that's usually business do, movie business, right? Before they even make the film, they talk about they're making the film, and then they talk about doing the film, and then a lot of PR things. So hit them as many points as possible. I think when they get the real announcements, whatever, they're not surprised. I think that's critical to me. So thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? If not, our next meeting is our work session meeting next Tuesday at 7 o'clock back here in the boardroom. And other than that, we have no other business. So without objection for tonight, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. So